I walked into my husband's boss's office begging for his job, and I never came back the same. What would you do if your husband was on the verge of losing everything and you had one shot to save him by confronting his boss? That's how it all began, with one reckless choice to plead for mercy. Welcome back to my story, a tale of betrayal, desire, and impossible decisions. Thank you all so much for your incredible support. Today's question is, if you were in my shoes, would you walk away or step into his arms? Let's dive in. My name is Emily. I'm 33 years old and I used to believe I had the perfect marriage. James, my husband, is a kind man. A little predictable maybe, but loyal to his core. He works tirelessly as a senior analyst at a top-tier financial firm downtown. Every evening, he'd come home right on time. We'd cook dinner, watch shows, and laugh together. But over time, things shifted. The laughter grew quieter. The hugs felt colder. Our bedroom empty. I didn't cheat because I hated James. I cheated because I stopped feeling seen. It all started on a freezing Thursday morning in November. James had been unraveling for weeks, barely sleeping, hardly eating. His boss, Mr. Bennett, was on him like a hawk. A missed report, a botched meeting, a lost client. And now James was staring down the barrel of getting fired. That night he came home shoulder slumped, eyes sunken. He looked broken. "I might lose my job," he whispered. Mr. Bennett said he'd think it over, but we both knew what that meant. I couldn't just sit there and watch him crumble. Not after he'd given 10 years to that company. So I said something impulsive. "Let me talk to him." James blinked. "What, I'll go in tomorrow," I said. "I'll talk to your boss. Maybe he'll listen." James gave a bitter laugh. "Bennett, he's a shark. He doesn't care. And he's intense." Intense sounded daunting, but I didn't care. I'd made up my mind. The next day I put on my sharpest pencil skirt and a silk blouse, not to seduce anyone, but because I knew I had to make an impression. I walked into that towering glass building, heels clicking on the marble floor, my heart pounding in my chest. When I reached the 14th floor and asked the secretary to see Mr. Bennett, she raised an eyebrow. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," I said, "but it's urgent." She hesitated, then picked up the phone. "Mr. Bennett, there's a woman here. Emily Parker, an English teacher." A pause. Then she gave me an odd look. "Go in. He'll see you now." I stepped into his office. He was commanding, polished, powerful. This was Nathaniel Bennett, the man I'd only glimpsed from afar at holiday parties. Tall, confident, probably in his late 40s or early 50s, with salt and pepper hair, piercing eyes, and a smile that was both charming and unnerving. "Emily," he said slowly, rising from his leather chair. "James's wife. This is unexpected." His voice was deep, smooth, and dangerous. "I'm here to talk about James." I said, my throat tight. "He's struggling. I just thought, maybe I could ask for some leniency. He's a good man." Nathaniel didn't speak for a moment. He just studied me like I was a puzzle he wanted to solve. Then he walked around his desk, leaned against it, and crossed his arms. "You came here to beg for your husband?" My cheeks burned. "Not beg, just explain. He's under pressure. He didn't mean to let you down." He stepped closer just a fraction. "Tell me something, Emily. How far would you go to protect your husband?" I froze. "What do you mean?" he smirked. "I mean, you're here alone in my office looking like this. Do you think wives usually discuss business this way?" I opened my mouth to protest, but the words caught in my throat. Because suddenly I realized something dangerous. He was drawn to me. And worse, a part of me liked it. He slowly circled behind me, his voice a whisper. "I've seen you at company parties, always in red. You know that's my weakness, don't you?" I held my breath. "I didn't come here for this," I said softly. But he replied, "It's already happening. I should have left. I should have walked out right then." But something inside me, something lonely, something starving, leaned in instead of pulling away. He reached out his fingers, brushing my arm as he gently took my hand. "I can make sure James stays," he said, "if that's what you really want." I looked into his eyes and said nothing. My silence spoke for me. That afternoon I did something I swore I'd never do. I surrendered on the cold leather couch in the corner of his office. I gave in to him, to my desires, to everything I thought I'd buried long ago. I told myself it was a one-time mistake, something to forget. But one taste of power, of danger, and I couldn't stop myself from going back. Can a woman still love her husband after giving herself to another man? Comment below. I tried to forget what happened. I really did. I told myself it was for James, a desperate trade, a favor. But deep down, I knew better. That night, I scrubbed my skin raw in the shower for an hour, but the memory wouldn't wash away. His voice, his scent, the way he looked at me, not as someone's wife, but as someone he could claim. James was lighter that evening, relieved, smiling, grateful. "I don't know what changed," he said, but Bennett called and said I'm reinstated. Just like that. He hugged me, kissed my forehead, and I hated myself. Because when he thanked his boss, I remembered how his boss's hands felt on my thighs. A week passed, then another. I stayed away from that building, that street. I even blocked Nathaniel's number after he sent a cryptic text, "You taste better than loyalty." I never replied. I swore it would never happen again. Until I saw him at James's company fundraiser, a rooftop evening with champagne live music and a sea of polished shoes and fake smiles. James begged me to come. "Please, it'll be great to show them I have a beautiful wife." I didn't want to go, but I couldn't raise suspicion. So I wore a soft blue dress, simple heels, and told myself I could handle it. But the moment we arrived, I saw him. Nathaniel. He stood on the rooftop in a tailored black suit, holding a drink, laughing with the CFO. But his eyes, they found me instantly and never wavered. For the first hour, I stayed by James's side, smiling, nodding, playing the perfect wife. Nathaniel didn't approach. He didn't even wave. That made it worse because a part of me wanted him to. I hated myself for it. Then, somewhere between my second glass of wine and James stepping away to talk to a client, I felt a whisper behind me. "I wasn't sure you'd come." My body stiffened. Nathaniel stood right behind me, his voice warm and low, drowning out the music. "I came with James," I said quietly, turning away. "But you're alone now," he replied. I turned to face him. His smile was slow, dangerous. "I blocked your number," I whispered. "I noticed," he said. "But your body doesn't block memories." He sipped his drink, eyes locked on mine. "Tell me, do you still feel me when he touches you?" I should have slapped him. Instead, my heart raced because he was right. That night, James introduced me to some department heads. I smiled, shook hands, laughed politely, but every so often I caught Nathaniel watching from across the room like a lion waiting for the crowd to thin. By the end of the night, James got a call and had to run a quick errand. 20 minutes, he said. "Wait here?" I nodded. The moment he left, I knew I was in danger, but I didn't leave. Nathaniel found me near the elevators. He didn't say a word. He just held out his hand. And like a fool, I took it. We walked through a quiet hallway to his private office upstairs. It was sleek, silent, dimly lit. The door closed behind us. I didn't ask why we were there. I already knew. He stood behind me, his hands gliding along my waist, his breath warm against my neck. "You can leave right now," he whispered. I didn't move. "You can go back downstairs and pretend tonight never happened." I stayed silent. Then he turned me around. His hands were rough, certain. His lips didn't ask, and I let him. It wasn't love. It was power, desire, need, a feeling I hadn't had in years. When it was over, he said nothing. He just walked to the window and stared at the city lights. I sat up slowly, adjusting my dress. "You're not going to say anything?" I asked. He turned to me. "I already did." I left his office with my heart-pounding lipstick smudged and shame wrapping around my chest like a tight rope. James was waiting by the elevator, smiling. "Sorry I kept you waiting," he said. "It was great." Nathaniel didn't just want my body. He wanted my choices, my loyalty, my future. And I was tired of pretending. I avoided him for 3 days, no calls, no texts, no messages. I told myself it was a lapse, a mistake repeated under pressure. But that was a lie. Because every night when James kissed me goodnight, I thought of Nathaniel kissing me like I was his. And it wasn't just the kiss. It was how he made me feel, seen not as a wife, not as a woman holding her family together, but as someone desired. On the 4th day, flowers arrived. A bouquet so big it made the neighbors stop and stare. No card, no name, but I didn't need one. That night I got an email from a strange address, Private N. Bennett, subject just dinner. I reserved a table for us. No obligations, no touching, just food, wine, and conversation. Say yes. I read it 10 times before replying. And then I did what I swore I wouldn't. I said yes. The restaurant was one of those quiet, private places you can't find on Google, hidden behind frosted glass and velvet ropes. He was already there when I arrived in a dark gray suit, no tie, holding a whiskey. He stood when he saw me, pulling out my chair like a gentleman. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice soft. I told myself I wouldn't. I replied, sliding into the seat. "I don't believe you." For a while we talked about safe things, travel, music, wine. But then he leaned forward, his eyes boring into mine. "Emily," he said softly, "I don't want this to be a game." My throat tightened. "What do you mean?" "I mean I don't just want your body. I want more." I swallowed hard. He continued, "I've watched you for months at office events. You're smart, graceful, wasting your life." I looked away. "I don't need saving," I whispered. "Maybe not," he said. "But you need something real, something powerful." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a white envelope. "What's this?" I asked as he slid it toward me. Inside was a contract and a check. $100,000. "What is this?" "My offer," he said calmly. "I want you by my side, not just in bed. I want you as my partner, your wife." My heart thundered. "I'm already someone's wife," I said, my voice shaking. He leaned closer. "A man who doesn't see you, who doesn't know what you've given up for him." I left that dinner with trembling hands. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. Back home, James was on the couch watching sports. He looked up and smiled. "Hey babe, you're home late. How was dinner with your college friend?" I lied again. "She's fine." He nodded and turned back to the game. And just like that, the truth sat heavy in my chest. 2 days later, I met Nathaniel again. This time not for dinner. We were in his penthouse high above the city. Champagne, dim lights, and silence between us. "I can't do this," I whispered as he kissed my shoulder. "You already are," he replied, kissing lower. And I didn't stop him, because in that moment I didn't want to be Emily the wife. I wanted to be Emily the woman who chose desire over duty. Afterward, I sat wrapped in one of his shirts, staring at the skyline. He stood behind me, arms around my waist. "I'll give you time," he said, "but not forever. I don't even know what I want," I whispered. "Yes, you do," he said softly. "You just haven't admitted it." The next week, James got another warning at work. Nathaniel had been distant with him. James came home furious. "That man is impossible," he muttered. I don't know what he wants from me anymore. I knew exactly what he wanted. I'd crossed a line, and this time there was no going back. The silence between James and me grew louder. He still kissed my cheek before work, still asked if I needed anything from the store, still wrapped his arms around me at night. But I didn't feel it anymore. Not the warmth, not the love, not the pulse of a marriage, just the weight of secrets between us. I kept Nathaniel's envelope in a drawer. Every night I took it out and stared at it like it held all the answers. The contract was simple: a position at his company, full benefits, a monthly stipend, and him. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, James came home early. He looked pale, his shirt half untucked, tie loose. "What's wrong?" I asked. He sat down slowly. "They let me go." My heart skipped. "Let you go?" Bennett called me and said I wasn't needed anymore. Just like that. He gave a bitter laugh. No explanation, no warning. I swallowed hard. Did he say anything? Of course I asked if I did something wrong. He just looked at me and said, "This is bigger than you, James." I turned away so he couldn't see my face. Because he was right. This was bigger than James. That night, I told Nathaniel we needed to talk. He sent a driver. I slipped out while James slept, wearing the same coat I'd worn on our first night of betrayal. This time, I didn't feel guilt, just clarity. His penthouse felt different now. Not just a place of seduction, but a place of choices. "I'm here," I said, stepping inside. "I knew you would be," he replied, pouring a glass of red wine. I didn't sit. "I need to know," I said. "Did you fire James because of me?" He stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "I let him go because he was in the way." I blinked. "In the way of what you," he said simply. "He doesn't see who you are. Doesn't know what you're capable of." "I do. I'm his wife," I whispered. "No," Nathaniel said. "You're his crutch." I didn't speak. He stepped closer, placing the glass in my hand. "I want to build something with you," he said softly. "I see you in boardrooms, on red carpets by my side, in every meeting, not in an apron waiting for a man who never brings flowers home." My fingers trembled around the glass. "You're scared," he said. "So am I," I admitted. He touched my cheek. "Until you walked into my office that night, we didn't just make love. We claimed each other. No rush, no stealing. It was deliberate." And he didn't flinch when he whispered, "Come live with me." The next morning I came home while James was still asleep. I packed in silence, a suitcase, a few clothes, no wedding ring. When he woke, I was by the door. "Where are you going?" he asked, his voice groggy. I looked into his eyes. To start over. With who, he asked, already knowing. Someone who believes in me. He stood. "He cheated with you, didn't he?" I didn't answer. Nathaniel had given me everything but peace. Today's question: can a relationship born in betrayal ever lead to true happiness? Let's find out. I used to imagine what it would be like to live in a penthouse. Endless views, silence, luxury. But I never thought I'd be there because I betrayed my husband with his boss. Now that boss is my husband. Nathaniel and I married in a small private ceremony 2 months after I moved in. No guests, no heartfelt vows, just a signature and a kiss that tasted of power and guilt. He bought me a new wardrobe, a new identity, a new name, Mrs. Emily Bennett. It sounds wealthy, like a woman who has everything she wants. And maybe I do, except I haven't slept well in weeks. Guilt creeps in during quiet moments, when Nathaniel's at meetings, when I sip red wine. I never finish when I see a woman on the street below laughing, holding her husband's hand. I wonder if that could have been me and James if I'd waited, tried harder, said no. But then Nathaniel comes home, his expensive cologne on his collar, his kisses making me forget how I got here. "Everything okay, love?" he asks, tucking my hair behind my ear. I smile and nod because how can I complain until the night he brought home a surprise? Guess who's applying for a job at one of my subsidiaries, he said, pouring himself a drink. Who, James? Your ex? I froze. What? He sipped his whiskey. He doesn't know it's my company. Thought I'd let him sweat a bit. I stared, horrified. Why would you do that? He raised an eyebrow. Do what? Toy with him. He lost everything because of us. Because of you, love, he corrected. You came to me. You stayed to save yourself. I didn't sleep that night. For the first time, I saw Nathaniel not as a lover or even a husband, but as a man who thrives on control, and I'd been ready to give him everything. I found James's number still in my phone. I stared at it for a long time, my finger hovering over the call button. But I stopped. What would I say? I'm sorry. I miss you. I ruined your life. No. He deserved peace even if I didn't. Days later, I saw James in town. He didn't notice me at first. He looked thinner, tired, but somehow stronger. He was with a woman. She smiled at him and he smiled back. That smile broke something in me because it wasn't mine anymore. Back at the penthouse, Nathaniel was waiting with 2 glasses. To us, he said. I didn't raise my glass. Instead, I sat on the edge of the bed staring at my reflection. Do you love me? I asked quietly. He laughed. Of course. Why else would I be here? I looked at him. You fired my husband. You seduced me. You used me to feed your ego. His smile faded. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know who I am anymore. He stood, setting his glass down. You're mine, Emily. That's who you are. And for the first time, I didn't feel special. I felt trapped. Weeks passed. I stayed because leaving meant starting over alone, and maybe I was too scared to know how anymore. But I never told him I loved him. Not again. Because I realized love isn't passion or power. It's peace. And with Nathaniel, there was none. What do you think? Is Emily truly in love or just running from a life she grew tired of? Is Nathaniel her savior or her biggest mistake? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more gripping, thrilling, heart-wrenching stories that'll leave you breathless.